Make sure they're wide awake. Follow Jesus. Listen and obey. No more living for the culture. We nobody's slave. Stand up for my home. Even if I take this walk alone, I'm proud out to the kingdom on the show. My life is his, I'm no longer my own. I pray to God that he'll strengthen my hands. They will think twice stepping onto my land. I draw the line, it's written in the sand.
The battle cry. I remember such a battle cry. Remember when Kanye came out with that album? It took me back to the very beginning when I realized that I was turning my back on a lot of different things. Because I think the passion you feel behind that is that kind of like battle you deal with in your own mind.
Right.
Where in the beginning, when Jesus got the lint in my mouth, when Jesus captures you, when he transforms you, the first thing you begin to realize is all of my other idols no longer have a home here.
Right.
And some of those idols you're scared to get let go of.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of those idols may involve acceptance, may involve financial comfort, may involve achievements that you've built your identity on, and you don't want to see them go.
Right.
But then you get to that point when you recognize how comforting and how gracious and how loving and how faithful this God is. It's like, look, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. I love that.
Even if I walk this one alone.
Welcome to the Black and Blurred podcast. You have been so lucky as to be here with us for our pilot episode. My name is Brandon. I'm here with my brother Daren.
What's up?
Two guys from Baltimore, Maryland, the greatest city in the world, just bringing you different thoughts, different topics, different subjects from the shallow of the shallow to the depths of the deep.
Yeah.
And through the perspective of who we are, who we've been molded to be, and through our own experiences in our life. I think we just reached a point where, well, I guess I reached a point where I wanted to share my thoughts on a whole bunch of stuff. I would always go to Daren. You can't hear him right now. You probably hear buzzing because he's lighting a cigar, but I would always go like, hey, let's start a podcast. And he'd be like, okay, do it.
Yeah.
Start. And I'm like, all right. 6 months later. All right. You know what? Let's start a podcast. And so one of the good things about being quarantined is you sit in stillness a lot.
Yeah.
At least you should be.
Right.
A little bit. And so we decided to do this thing.
Yeah.
We're going to start this podcast.
We're here. We did it. We're doing it.
We're doing it.
It's happening.
We're doing it. In this pilot episode, we just want to introduce you to who we are, give you a little overview on, I guess, the scope of this podcast. It's a wide scope, but it'll hone in on some things. We'll hone in on some things, but
yeah,
just give you a good feeling of who we are. I think something that really prompted me to, I guess, want to do a podcast like this is being misunderstood a lot.
Yeah.
I think in a lot of different ways.
Either being misunderstood or being overstood for all my conscious brothers and sisters.
Overstand.
You overstand me. What I mean by that is people assuming they know us before they know us.
Wow, that was very good.
Mm-hmm.
That was double entendre the way you use that.
Yeah.
Both a slight to people, and then you resolved it with making some sense. That's good. No, I think we've both experienced that. We're both from West Baltimore, Maryland, on Dorchester Road, in the neighborhood of Liberty Heights and Garrison, and I think in all aspects, or at least in majority aspects of our life, there was something about us that always stood out.
Yeah.
Stood out. And we didn't stand out in ways that other people stood out all over the world, or, we didn't stand out in ways that no one else has ever stood out, but we felt it. One level of it is in school, growing up and going to Liberty Elementary and then going to Garrison Middle. I don't know. One, having two parents made us rare.
Yeah.
We weren't the only ones. There was, but it made us rare. And I was fortunate enough to be able to witness that, all my friends, and being able to grow in relationship with my parents as well. My friends being able to be introduced to the conversations that my father and I had, and us being driven home from wherever it was, either playing basketball or as we got older, going to some party, I don't know, whatever, and him having some lecture or some teaching moment.
Yeah, always.
Like Boys in the Hood.
Yeah.
I appreciated those moments. I appreciate even reflecting on them. But the thing that really wanted me to shape this podcast is this idea of personhood, this idea of personality, this idea of the individual, not individualism, but the individual. I think that we're losing value about all of these things. I mean, in general, I think more and more we talk about different topics. The topic is meant to be ascribed or attributed to a group of people. And then based on the way that you think or the way that you respond to certain things, someone can deem you a member of this group. Right. And we felt as if we've been placed in a group preemptively or people presume that we belong to a group without having learned who we are as individuals.
Right.
So we want to share who we are as individuals regarding every single topic you could ever think of. Starting from the basics of who we are, we're Christians. Shocker. Is that a shocker?
I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. We started with the track at the beginning for this to be the pilot episode.
Maybe. Yeah, no. But you come to find out that we're not the Christians that the world might present to you.
Like on TBN?
Yeah. Or that surface level. I know a lot of people who would associate themselves with Christianity.
Like I used to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I used to. Go ahead.
Yeah, but you'll come to find that, God has, through His grace, has revealed that blind spot to us. That we were, just
hypocrites.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, right. We were pretending. We were acting. We were leading double lives, calling ourselves Christians, going through all the motions of Christianity, but never truly knowing Jesus.
And just to be clear, what made us hypocrites isn't that we were acting like we were living out Christianity. What made us hypocrites was that we were acting as if we weren't as in need as everyone else. Mm-hmm. That's what made us hypocrites. Mm-hmm. So we're still flawed, both of us.
Yep.
Daren more than me. Mm. But one thing that we certainly realize is that there is zero difference between need, regarding need between me and my fellow man or woman.
Right.
That's what, we recognize. So I don't know. What should we share? About
Let's start.
ourselves?
Let's start with
from the beginning.
Yeah, who we are. Who are you? Who are you?
That's a deep question.
Don't tell me your name. Tell me who you are.
That's a deep question, man. It's profound. I grew up as the middle child. I grew up as a middle child, and we have an older sister, Christine, who was fortunate enough to grow up with two brothers. Mm-hmm. Anybody who's fortunate enough to grow up with two brothers is just blessed. That's how it works. And I don't know. I was the rebel. I was just good at hiding it for a certain point. I mean, there was a time where Mommy and Daddy would probably just see me and then pray for me at some point. I don't know. Yeah. But I one of my idols that I mentioned in the beginning was acceptance. People who even know me, people who've been to school with me, might not even know that I'm an introvert. Some of them might know. Those who are in the inner circle know I'm an introvert. But yeah, I'm an introvert. And people think when you're an introvert, it means you're shy. It's not what it always means. Shy and introvert are distinguishable. But I'm an introvert in that being around people drains me. It drains me. Yeah. I hated going to parties. I absolutely hated it, and I did it all the time because I didn't want to be the dude that didn't go. And then the only solution to get over that fear or, to get over that anxiety of being at a party for so long was alcohol. And then at that, it's very cheap and bad alcohol that ruins you. It's terrible. Mm-hmm. It's awful. It's terrible. We made terrible decisions. Shame on us. All of us. Terrible decisions. But so I'll be able to share the depth of kind of like my personal journey in later podcasts when they come up. But as Daren mentioned, there was a point in my life where I realized that I called myself a Christian because my parents called themselves Christians. Meanwhile, I didn't really care what it meant to believe in God. I didn't care what my life looked like. I didn't care what it meant historically, spiritually. None of it mattered. It was just, one of the boxes you check in order to fit into one of the groups that you're supposed to be assigned to. Mm-hmm. That changed when I was in college, in engineering school, and I ended up going a whole different direction after graduating from engineering school. I went into ministry. I'm a pastor now. I'm a pastor at Peace City Church in Riverdale, Maryland, alongside Eric So, who's our lead planning pastor, our brother in Christ. He's our Korean brother. His haircut makes him look super Korean right now. he looked like when he first got the haircut, it was like bad guy in rush hour. So, yeah. Oh man, he could fight anybody on the street right now. But I'm at Peace City Church. Eric and I actually met at a church in Silver Spring, called the Well Community Church, led by Matthew Klingler. And, the Lord placed on his heart to plant a church. He came to me, asked me to come alongside him to plant. And, the rest is history. It'll unfold for you in later podcasts. You'll hear more and more about that. But that's where I am now. I have a wife named Tulani. She and I met at the most prestigious school in Maryland, right, Daren? Right?
My mic.
He's nodding. Yes, he was nodding. Work. Yes, the most prestigious school in Maryland, Baltimore Polytechnic Institute. And we also ended up going to Morgan together. We didn't date in high school. People always assume that when I say we met in high school. I was too stupid. If we dated in high school, then she would have made a wise decision to stay away from me. But fortunately enough, the Lord kept her from me in high school, and then we met in college, or we started dating in college, engineering school. When you're stuck in an engineering building on a college campus, you see the same people every day, all day. I just made that sound like I settled.
Yep, it was terrible.
That's not the way that was supposed to sound. Terrible. That's not the way that was supposed to sound at all. But whatever. You don't own me. You don't own. No, but so we started dating and we ended up getting married. And the journey continues. We have a child on the way.
Yeah.
for the first time in
Congratulations.
5 years. 5 years we've been married. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
What about yourself?
The end. My name's Daren.
Whoa. Don't tell me your name.
Absolutely.
Tell me who you are.
Right. I'm the youngest child of 3.
Spoiled.
So I got beat up, locked in closets.
Wait.
I was tortured.
My story didn't really involve these types of details yet.
Well, this is my life. You didn't live this life. I lived this life. So I'm the youngest. So we're all 2 years apart. I'm 2 years younger than my brother and 4 years younger than my sister. We all grew up in the same house. We have the same parents. In Baltimore City, we all went to the same elementary school, Liberty 64, School 64.
Yeah, I know, School 64.
Garrison Middle School in Baltimore City.
What was Garrison's number?
That is closed now.
42 or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. School 42. Yeah, that sounds about right. No longer a school anymore. Not to be confused with Garrison Forest All-Girls School.
People always ask us that. Yeah. We'll get into that, man, because, that's just dumb.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Come on. So I didn't have a super, well, it was miraculous, but I didn't have a stamp in time that was a life-changing moment. We grew up in church, and God slowly and patiently made me fall more and more in love with Him, more in love with His Word. Fast forward to now, I'm a worship leader at Peace City Church, where my brother's pastor. So he's always been a leader over me. Always has been. So this is the easy submission. Pastor Eric So is also my pastor. I lead worship there every Sunday, even through this quarantine. We're leading worship, still growing, still learning to be disciplined in Christ. Just recently came back from a worship conference in Florida, a Deeper Fellowship worship conference, a William McDowell's worship conference, and the most rejuvenating and enlightening conference I've probably ever been to. Mm-hmm. And I'm just now getting in. I'm just now learning to wake up early and pray. Seems such a basic principle of Christianity is prayer. We take it for granted, and I wasn't doing it as often as I should have. So just now learning to wake up early and pray. It's difficult. It's very hard. I love sleep. I love sleeping. I hate getting up. But there's something about being able to wake up with nothing to do but to talk to your Father. That just gives you energy. And I find myself just staying awake. Wake up at 6 a.m. and I'm just up. And I feel good.
Yeah.
Until I eat them waffles and them pancakes. Or that McDonald's, or that Mac Griddle.
Oh my goodness. Yo.
And then I pass out.
Then
I pass out. Yeah, then I pass out.
Stay away from it. I used to eat 3 McGriddles when I was in college every morning.
Sinner.
Yeah, that's just disgusting.
Sinner. But so I have a wife, Holly, and I have a stepson, Daniel, and Holly and I have a son who is 8 months old tomorrow, Willis.
Wow. That's wild. He was born, what's the day? He was born in April? Oh, that was dumb.
You're an idiot. Yeah.
No.
The prestigious Polytechnic Institute.
No.
Yeah,
8 months.
He was born in August, on the 18th.
That's wild.
So tomorrow he'll be 8 months old. Willis Zacharias.
Going back to that thing you said about Garrison Forest, if you are listening and you are from Maryland, if you're listening and you're from Baltimore County, then you'll understand who Garrison Forest is. However, if you're from Baltimore County, you probably don't know what Garrison Middle School is.
Yeah.
However, if you're from Baltimore County and you know what Garrison Forest is, you know it's an all-girls school.
It's for girls.
Now, we grew up playing soccer, baseball. I mean, obviously basketball and football, but that we're talking about organized. We played. I didn't play organized basketball until maybe, I don't know, 8th or 9th grade. Maybe, I don't know. But so we played soccer in the county because where we grew up, there was no sports organization for us to play soccer. So we were the minority, shocker. And whenever people would ask us what school we went to, because and it's funny, like we weren't just the minority there, but we just kind of felt like we missed out because a lot of the people on our teams all went to school together.
Yeah, they all
lived in the same
friends.
Neighborhood. You know, over time we ended up getting to know them more, but there was always something that felt lacking in the relationship because we were the outsider.
Right.
But one of the dumbest things that would happen in our younger years when we would tell people what school we went to, and we said Garrison, and they would say Garrison Forest. Yeah. And at that point, we didn't even know what Garrison Forest was. We're like, what? No, it's not. No, it's Garrison Middle School. Oh, where's that? It's in Baltimore City. Now, when we got older and we realized what Garrison Forest was, we were like, wait a second. Like, has this always been an all-girls school?
Right, yeah.
What does that even mean?
Yeah, I mean, quick thing. I left this out. I'm a dog groomer by profession. That's what I do. I groom dogs. Give your dog a haircut.
Get that money.
Yeah.
If you have a dog, cat, you want him to get cut. I didn't have anything else to rhyme. I thought I was going to do a little commercial, but I didn't.
No.
I didn't really think it up. I'll think about that. But
working on, starting a mobile grooming business.
What's the name?
Scratch and Smith.
Yeah.
Pet grooming. Yeah. Now you started talking about soccer. Let's talk about our hobbies. Sports. When we were younger, we played sports.
Yeah.
So different from kids now. Like I know a lot of kids who are just gifted and athletic, but we spent a lot of time outside. Mm-hmm. Any free time we had usually was spent outside playing some sort of sport, whether it was a real one or something we made up.
We grew up in a duplex.
Yeah.
So for anyone who's unfamiliar with a duplex, it's just an apartment of 2 homes. We lived upstairs, and my aunt and uncle lived downstairs with our brother cousins.
Yeah.
Aaron and Justin. Justin is the one who produced our intro music that you listened to in the beginning of this.
Nope. See, we listened to Kanye at the beginning.
No, at the beginning of the beginning, we started with the intro. And Gales is the one who provided that music. And he has a Instagram, Who Is Gales. Check him out. He's cool now. I know him as the guy that got beat up and would beat up his brother.
Yeah, man. They fought hard. They scrapped. I mean, it wasn't like brother fighting. They scrapped.
But one of the most phenomenal things that Justin ever did was when we were outside one time. And
the precision.
You know what? No, this is the other way around. He got hit. Aaron did this.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. Justin.
He was running.
Justin decided, as a younger brother, to catch his older brother, Aaron, off guard. I think he kicked him or smacked him or something, and we were outside, and as soon as he kicked him, he went running. And I'm talking about around the corner of the house. Even though we grew up in Baltimore City, we had a yard, a decent yard, which I'm thankful for because it was 9 of us.
I know.
But so he went running around the corner, and Aaron immediately, as soon as he got hit or kicked, picked up a rock. And without looking, I'm talking about he jumped around the corner of the house and just threw it.
It was like wanted.
We don't even know where Justin was. Yeah. All you heard was Aaron release that rock, and you heard, ah! And I remember sitting there stunned, like, did he get him?
Yeah, he got him right in the mouth.
I mean, that's a job well done. Yeah. I mean, at certain points, there's dangerous things to do. We get it. I understand it, but. Yeah. You reach a certain level of retaliation, and you have to be applauded.
Yeah,
you have to applaud.
Did a great job.
That was just that's prestige level
Yeah.
retaliation, older brother retaliation.
Yeah.
I never got to that level.
Nope.
I did a couple things, but yeah. So that's where we grew up in a duplex with all of them. And we, like Daren was saying, we played outside a lot. We had a neighborhood of people. If this was a movie, then the neighbor who's always at the house would be our across the street next door neighbor, Jason Austin.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jason, even though I haven't spoken to you in years. We have stories.
Yeah.
You know it. We'll leave it. We'll leave it. But it was a neighborhood.
Yeah.
It was a neighborhood. I kind of missed that.
Yeah.
I missed that. We had like a lot of different stories that went on throughout that. We got in trouble in very creative ways. One day, me and Justin decided to throw cars at the street.
Oh, man, you strong.
I mean, throw rocks.
Oh.
So throw rocks. Sorry.
Yeah.
Throw rocks at cars on the street.
Yeah, that's bad.
That's a terrible decision.
That's a terrible decision.
That's a terrible decision. And you know what happened? We hit a car. We missed every single one except for one car. It was a Corvette driving down Granada. And we hit it. Mm-hmm. And he stopped in the middle of the street and chased us into the house.
Yeah.
I applaud you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
You contributed to my call to ministry.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we played soccer growing up. I think that's what we played for most of our lives. After soccer, we started playing baseball in the off season during the spring. We played baseball. Brandon played basketball in high school. I played football. Yeah, we love competition. We love sports. Our father, introduced us to ping pong. Mm-hmm. That's something that he played growing up, and anytime we went to our grandfather's house, which is my mom's dad, and in Richmond, Virginia, he had a ping pong table, and we would play ping pong. That's the only thing we would look forward. I remember looking forward to that, playing ping pong. Mm-hmm. We got pretty good.
We used to have heated battles down there.
We got pretty good.
Speaking of Sandlot,
Mm-hmm.
We had a neighbor just like the dudes.
It was just like Sandlot.
I mean, it was probably worse.
Yeah,
It's worse because at the end of
actually,
Sandlot, we found out that James Earl Jones is a nice dude. He's blind. He got a big dog, but he used to play baseball with Babe Ruth, and he gave them a spitty ball with a bunch of signatures on it. So he's a nice guy. Mm-hmm. Our neighbor, however, who we later found out in our, outside of our adolescence when we became adults, that she was a pastor.
Yeah.
She was mean.
Yeah, she was mean to us.
She was scary.
Yeah, she was scary.
So the one thing that divided our yards was this bush, these bushes. Mm-hmm. And we would play baseball in our yard. And if ever the ball rolled into the bush, and I'm talking about it's still in our yard. Yeah. It just rolled into the bush. Eyes would appear in the blinds.
Peeking out the
window. And
window.
she would be seeing us.
Staring at us.
That's spooky.
Like daring us to come into her yard.
Yeah. And then if we did go into the yard to get the ball, she would yell at us.
Which wasn't really a yard. It was her driveway.
It was her driveway.
And, once the ball hit the concrete, it would roll. And we were like, we would all look at each other like, oh, I'm not getting that.
Yeah, I'm not going in there.
We just lost the ball.
That's it.
It was just like Sandlot. We just lost. We got to go get a new ball.
We got to go get it. And she was preaching the good word.
Yeah.
Man, she was mean.
Yeah.
We won't say her name.
Nah.
Maybe later. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'll leave it alone right now. Yeah. I'll leave it alone right now. We'll get into those things. But yeah, I really enjoyed our childhood. I was just sharing about that in a sermon that I preached, and when we talked about poverty, where our church is going through the Beatitudes in Matthew 5. And, I spent some time talking about poverty and America's view of poverty, because there's one point of it where there are people who lack in essential things, and there is a duty of people to care for one another and to, help one another and to love one another in that case. And
right.
But then there's another view of poverty that is coupled with pity. Yeah. And people look at impoverished peoples and they pity them, especially in today's information age and selfie age and self exaltation age where you can post videos and pictures of like, look at how good of a person I am. And so what happens is you end up with organizations that go into the hood so they can help these pitiful people out of their turmoil.
Right.
And, obviously we didn't grow up with wealth, but we didn't grow up thinking, oh man,
I know.
I wish things were better.
Right.
Because we didn't have anything to compare it to.
Right.
We didn't have a lot to compare it to. And also, even where we grew up, there were people who were worse off than us.
Yeah, absolutely.
More people.
Absolutely. And that's just God's grace.
Yeah. So people who were worse off than us, but I don't look at the hood as this hope-stricken place.
Yeah.
Or hopeless-stricken place. But, I think there's a lot of beauty and a lot of rich heritage in the different hoods around the world and different hoods around the country, especially if you think globally around the world.
Yeah.
I mean, you take a rich neighborhood in this country and then you take a poor village in a different country. There's a good chance that there's way more joy in the village. Way more.
Yep.
So money doesn't buy you joy.
Right.
It buys you stuff that you got to keep paying for.
Were you going to tell a story?
What story?
You said you were telling a story in your sermon about
No, I was telling the sermon.
Oh, okay.
Golly. I can tell the story though. Going back to the soccer.
Yeah, tell the story.
It may have been baseball. I don't know. Soccer.
Jeremy was baseball.
My goodness.
So
Don't say the name. It doesn't matter. But still, we don't know who's listening, so let's call him Jack. But we were driven home by one of my teammates' moms, and on the way back from Baltimore County, she crossed Northern Parkway to enter into Liberty Heights, and like literally as we're driving by, for anybody who's also around LNG, we were passing by like JD Mart, Super Pride, had passed by 4Gs, and she's looking in astonishment like, oh my goodness. And I'm talking about
Audible.
she's actually saying this.
She's saying that. Yeah.
We're in the back seat and we're watching and listening to her say, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. How could you live here? And I'm genuinely puzzled. I thought that she saw something.
Yeah.
I was like, did somebody just get shot?
Yeah.
Or somebody getting arrested? Or I don't know what just happened. And so I was still puzzled, and I got home, and at the first thing I told, I think we were about like 10 and 8 at this.
Yeah.
And I told mom and daddy, I was like, yeah, she was asking how could we live here, and they got mad.
Yeah, they were mad.
They were infuriated.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously, as we get older, we realize what was happening. And what I was sharing to our church is like what was happening in that moment is she was inadvertently, she wasn't a malicious woman. She was actually a very kind woman. She was a very nice woman, but she was inadvertently sharing her pity for us.
Mm-hmm.
She shared that verbally.
Right.
She pitied the area we grew up in, pitied the circumstances and how they weren't in line with what she may have been used to, and whatever. But I'm glad that I wasn't able to look around and be like, yeah, I know this is bad.
Yeah.
Like it was everything was everything.
I don't like home.
Yeah. It's those types of situations, and I think those types of experiences have shaped us to who we are now. Right. It's so wild that we've experienced things like that even from a very young age. And a lot of our professional or, vocational careers have been outside of a familiar context in some sense. Mm-hmm. Outside of a familiar context. You, for how many black people worked at PetSmart when you were at PetSmart? Or dog groomers?
2.
Yeah.
2 others, and there were about 11 of us. So
yeah,
I was the only male.
That's fun.
Only male and only black male.
Double charge, double indictment. You up to no good.
But yeah, like, our childhood, I was a dog groomer. I started off in Catonsville, which is right on the border of Baltimore City and Baltimore County, in Route 40. That's where it cuts off right there. So we got customers coming from further into the county, and we got customers coming from the city. And growing up the way we did prepared me to deal with all kinds of people. That that we would come up against. I mean, you got a person, a black woman coming from Baltimore City. She's upset. She's angry. Usually,
watch your mouth.
Usually, yeah.
Just watch your mouth.
Yeah. Usually, I was the only one that she would listen to.
Yeah.
That she'd be able to have a conversation with, not obey, but have a conversation with.
Yeah, right.
Because I was able to relate to her. And then there was a middle-aged white man who comes with an issue, and I can still be able to have a conversation with him. And that's because
de-escalate the situation.
And that's because of how we were raised, where we were raised, the intentionality of our parents, and making sure we were well-rounded in the things we participated in. Because if it were up to us, we would just stay in the hood all the time and just play with each other.
Yeah.
Or they could have been like, I want a better life for my children. Let me go put them in a league and have a degrace.
Yeah. True.
And that could have been very different for us.
And you know what we didn't even point out is that the same league that we played in Baltimore County, our brother cousins downstairs played in.
Yeah.
Our neighbor across the street played in.
Yeah. We all got that dose.
Yeah. We all did. And we also got an opportunity to watch our parents respond in different ways to different things.
Yeah.
I mean,
because they went through the same stuff.
It still was Baltimore. So we watched some stuff.
Yeah.
But outside of Baltimore, I think that's not true. I think my most memorable moment was when we were headed to Boys Brigade. Boys Brigade was like this boys club that we were in at our church. And when we were driving off, it was some dudes. Before we left, we were going to the car, and some dudes ran through our yard. They always used to run through our yard because our house was on the corner of Granada and Dorchester.
Yeah.
And
right off the main road.
Yeah, right off of Liberty Heights. So
we'll get off the bus.
Yeah. People get off the bus and they would cut through our yard. My mother would always, she'd have flowers there, and she wouldn't want people stepping on the flowers. They would always do it. And so we were leaving out, and as we were leaving, some dudes came running through the yard. And my father said, can you please not run through the flowers? They didn't say anything. And so we pulled off, and then we heard, pow! And we were like 10 and 8. And it was, we thought that they were shooting at us. But all that would happen, like, we pulled off in the middle of the street. We were out from the, the house.
Yeah.
And we were in the middle of the street. And as soon as we heard that noise, our father put the car in park, opened the door, left it open, and ran.
Yeah.
After those dudes.
After them.
It was like 5 of them.
Yeah.
He just chased them.
Yeah.
Darren and I are sitting in the car.
Sitting there like, what happened?
For like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
He got out and chased them to their house.
Right.
You know what he was in that moment?
The dude with the rock in the car?
He was the Corvette guy for those boys.
Yeah, he was.
He was the Corvette, man. Each one teach or chase one,
right,
or slap one,
right,
or grip one,
right,
or give one a mean look.
Right.
That's the way it works. That's the way it works. Everybody is responsible for the growth of a child at some point.
Yeah.
And these dudes, they could have chosen a neighborhood where they threw a rock at a car with a dude with a pistol. Here's the crazy part. They did.
Right.
But he's not the one who would use it on them.
Right.
He'll just chase them to their house. And it's so, and so that's a wild moment of intentionality, of discipline. But then you have another circumstance where I remember we were coming back from Maryland Cup. Maryland Cup was, so we said we played in a soccer league as we got older. Certain people in the league would be in the travel teams, and we would go across Maryland and I guess in between states too, and play people, play different teams.
Yeah.
And so we were leaving from one of those games, and my father and I were in the car, and some dude, apparently this dude didn't like my father taking long at a stoplight or something like that. I don't really remember. But he said something to my father, and Daddy really didn't even hear him. He actually didn't hear him. And he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, what'd you say?" And the guy said, "You effing nigger." And my father said, "Oh, I thought you said something smart. I'm sorry." And just walked away. Yeah. And so it's like, yeah. And so even from an early age, I realized, and I saw, and we had modeled for us, like, hey, if somebody tells you to dance with their words, the last and worst thing you could do is start dancing.
Yeah.
And people will try to use their words to get you to dance and get all angry and get all offended. Something that's today, people actually pride themselves in being able to be offended and be hurt by stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, yo, don't dance just because they said dance, man.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
Who has the right to be hurt the worst?
Yeah.
So that was fun. Yeah, I mean, it was just. We probably have a million stories just like that.
Stories will come up, and as far as everything else we'll talk about, like I said, there's a wide array of things and topics that we want to talk about, both from the perspective of who we are as believers, and then who we are as Black Americans, and who we are as men, because today in today's society, people based on their demographic are told the way they should think. Mm-hmm. And we're told this by TV, by radio, by songs, whatever it is. You're told the way that you should think. And then if you happen to present an individual thought or your own opinion about something that doesn't line up with people's expectations of you, then they'll slander you.
Yeah.
But don't dance.
Don't dance.
Ain't no music playing, dog.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about more about why that is.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about more why that is in our next episode. Stay tuned. We hope to be able to engage in a lot of different topics. We hope to be able to engage in, like I said, the fun, surface level, shallow things. But then we're going to get deep. We want to, talk about reality. We want to talk about philosophy, theology. We want to talk about the world, government.
Yeah.
But through the perspective of these two young gentlemen sitting right here at the mics. And we promise to bring you either our humble opinion or facts.
Yeah.
Holler at us.
Peace.